we think as individuals, and we don't think how the actions that we do actually affect our neighbor, right? They affect our spouses, right? They affect wives, affect husbands, husbands affect wives, they affect our children, just on a very practical level. And for what? To be selfish, right? And maybe we find ourselves struggling emotionally, and so we give ourselves over to that addictive thing. Maybe it's been a long day of work, and you can't stand the stresses anymore, and you just sit on the couch for the rest of the night, completely disengaged from the family. Selfish. Selfish. And we justify, well, I deserve this. But you're a father, and you're a mother, and you have responsibilities, right? And so our sin affects others around us, and it's not just for the mere receiving a pleasurable moment, right? Sin, when the goodness, the good things of God, such as food, for example, the tastes of eating the food, we can praise the Lord for that, right? And receive it as such. But then there comes a point in that process where we've crossed over into idolatry. And each of us should see where that is for us. He goes on to say in this article, well, that is just the pagans, right? And so only pagans are like that, right? And he goes on, no. He says, the NPR reported that the obesity rate for those in the ministry is 10% higher than those who are not. And speaking of pastors, right? 10% higher than those in the world. He goes on to say, yikes, exclamation mark. The Southern Baptist, this is the convention that he's a part of, the Southern Baptist Convention, is not only the largest Protestant denomination in terms of numbers, but also on the scale. He says in the 2010 Southern Baptist Convention, which is their annual meeting, free health screenings were administered. Of those screened, 73% were found to be overweight or obese. He goes on to say, if you're keeping track, that is a higher percentage than those outside the church. In summary, the majority of Americans are overweight, dangerously so, but Christians, and in particular pastors, have higher obesity rates than our already heavy fellow Americans. Brothers and sisters, we have the Spirit of God, and with the Spirit of God, the fruit of the Spirit of self-control. And yet, we oftentimes grace things, right? It's a funny meme, but it's true. You look at that picture with the 4 burgers with bacon and ketchup and everything mixed in it, and right over that, the meme says, Lord, bless this food to my body. Brothers and sisters, I dare to say that's a prayer the Lord is not hearing, right? You say, you can eat that by faith and you don't lose your salvation, but you better be careful not to live a life of excess in the name of grace. Because it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much for you to be an addict. And you name it, whatever it is. And little by little, we can easily push the Lord to the side and excuse it away. I don't have time to read my Bible. I don't have time to go to church. I don't have time for fellowship. And you name it. I don't have time for these things anymore. Why? Because something else has replaced those affections. And so this idea of self-control, self-discipline, watching your life and your doctrine, studying yourself, making sure that there aren't loose ends in your life that'll get caught in the enemy's trap, and now you are a casualty. Well, in this